So I tried to make this video yesterday, and I didn't quite like it. I did it for about 15 minutes, and I think I want to try again. I'm doing a one-player D&D session, and I've noticed those tend to last much shorter periods of time, like 2 to 3 hours is like getting late, whereas if I have 2 or more players, I can sometimes go, 3 to 6 hours, right? A 3-hour session with 3 players is pretty, you'd be really cramming it in. So I want to learn how to cram it in. I want to play this game once, maximum twice. Like, sorry, I'm driving and this person went on the wrong side of the road. They were parking, but I know you're not supposed to do that. Went right in front of me. Damn it, every time. I will not edit it out because I don't know how. With a single-player game and a one-shot, which I've never done before, I feel like it needs to be on the nose, and I don't want to say railroady, because I'm gonna have, I'm gonna have options for my player, but I'm not also gonna, so some things would be totally open-ended, right? Like, you just create some obstacles that you don't have any answer to, and you see what they do. That's how, even though I'm going to really keep her on probably a railroad type story, she can really do whatever she wants inside of that in case story, right? All I have right now is that there is, I was inspired after she was, my girlfriend is a game for my girlfriend, and she was trying to get me to make up a bedtime story for her, and I've never done that in my life. And so it was very difficult for me. So I just ended up talking about the Irish potato famine. And that was my story. And I was like, hey, I could just do that. I could just do that for D&D. Because it's very, like, based on the historical knowledge that I understand of it, it's like pretty one-sided. It's like, oh, there's clearly a side that's causing harm, and there's clearly a side that's being harmed, right? Which is very funny that I thought that, because immediately, so she made some character options. It's going to be a low-level game, about level 2, and the gist of the story that I explained to her is that there is a faction that is ruled over by another. The ruling faction has taken all of their meat away, even any kind of livestock, even pets once they reach a certain age. If it's fully grown, they take it and it goes somewhere, right? They decide what's best with it. To be quote unquote fair, they say, oh, well, we'll give you an equal trade. We'll give you an equal value of these plants that are very easy to grow and they're very hardy, right? So the plants, everyone starts farming the same plant. Then a plague sets in that destroys those plants. I also think that people are eating those tainted plants. I'm gonna call it a blight, because the potato blight, like, duh. It might just be potatoes. I don't care, like, the carrot blight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't, that's not necessarily that important. What I feel is important is that the blight also does things to people when they consume the blight. So the blight is harming the potatoes, but people might become, I don't know, zombie-like, the horror-like, I don't know. Something bad is happening to the people, and that's causing disarray in the kingdom, period. As well as there is mismanagement in other levels. Like, I imagine it's going to end in, there's clearly some bad person who is doing something bad. Like, they're taking people's food away from them. Right? They're giving them quote-unquote food in return, but you have to turn that food into cropped first, and then you can consume it once it's harvested, right? Or you could eat it right away and then just die in the cold season. You know what I'm saying? They know what they're doing. It's negative, it's evil. Maybe there are certain people that do feel like they're justified because they're at a lower level, or they really do feel like that they've never personally done anything bad. They've never gone and taken people's food away from them. They're just administrative or whatever, right? She started playing, and I explained this to her, and then she picked her character options, and I let my players have a lot of freedom usually with their character options. If you have a cool idea, let's just figure it out. I'll homebrew it if we have to, right? And she looked at it and she said, ooh, it says here that I can have, and this is the new D&D's, we're doing it on D&D Beyond, but it's been updated. I haven't played with a new character since they came out with their 2024 rules, which I just got the player's handbook. My cousin got it for me out of nowhere. He gave me the Dungeon Master's Guide. 10 out of 10. That's what the 2014 should have been like. When I started playing and I read that book, and it started with basically like, here's how you make a pantheon of gods, I was like, this is not what I didn't even know. I don't know what I need to play D&D, but I know this ain't it. I do not need to know that. I need traps and castles and fucking dragons. If that's what's in there. There's poison. The only thing I haven't found in there that I wanted was puzzles. There's no good finding a good puzzle for D&D. I've never done it. I've been playing for 2 years, never found a good puzzle for D&D. So I don't really have many puzzle. I would like one of those in my game, but I can't. I just haven't found a good puzzle resource. So I figured that I'm getting sidetracked. My player, in her character creation, she decided she wants to be a dark elf because those are cool. That's 99 times out of 10 D&D players are going to do that. Oh, dwarves? I think dwarves are cool. I'm picking dwarves most of the time, right? Sometimes they'll be like, I had an idea for a character who's dark and brooding, right? I've been that person. But most of the time, it's just what's cool, right? So she picks a dark elf, and she goes and she says, instead of picking the items, it says I can just have a bunch of gold. Can I do that? And I say, yeah, but you're gonna need items. If you don't have them, like, you're gonna fall behind. And she's a bard. She's gonna be a 3rd level bard, which is starting. She's only ever played with me in a few games. Some with friends, some just me and her. And she's got up to 4th level through that. And I do tend to pass through. Usually, I get my players up to 2nd level at the end of the first session, right? But after that, and I might keep them at 2nd for a while, and then we go to 3rd. It feels like an improvement. And then after that, it's literally just based on the story. Like, have you guys done enough that I feel like it is to level up? So she's 4th level now. I think she can handle starting as a 3rd level bard. She was a sorcerer. She understands how spells work. She understands spell slots and things like that. I'm planning on having her have a sidekick, and I'm very adamant on no DMPCs, right? No DMPCs. But I do like sidekicks, and what is the difference? It can be a thin line, but to me, the difference between a sidekick and a DMPC is, and she asked me once, I had a character who was a sidekick for her, and she didn't realize that I wasn't that's not my character. This is just an NPC. I play all of the characters that aren't you. She thought that I have my own character, because, he can do stuff, right? He's not just a peasant, he's traveling along with her, right? Especially for a solo game, to just help her out, and be like, oh yeah, I know the city, right? He's a rat man. he's a homeless rat man. I like to call him little guys. Goblins, little rat dudes, kobolds, fucking an undead thing that is small and just like, please don't kill me, please. Anything that will grovel at your feet, the players will go, aw, we can't kill him, he's groveling, aw, right? She was never even in a fight with Ratman. Ratman was never an enemy. She just met him, and I knew, because I gave him a lisp. He speaks like this, right? And he's called Blinky. And I was just like, he's gonna be a dumb rat dude, and this is what he's gonna do, and so I'm gonna introduce him. He's like, hey, my name's Blinky, and I don't know why people call me that. And then I blinked my eyes, one after the other, like a fucking chameleon, like I'm stupid. And she laughed, and she literally immediately, I could be doing some misremembering, but literally less than 10 minutes after that, she was like, can this guy be in my party? And I put my hands on my hips and said, I don't know, maybe that's the magic of D&D. You can do whatever your imagination wants. It's just playing fucking pretend, but with fate, because the dice are fate, and the rules, because the real world has rules. You can't just pull a bazooka out of your asshole every time. Maybe sometimes. Point is, a sidekick is someone who is there for you and maybe has one or two specialities, right? He is a homeless rat man, which means he knows how to stay out of the fucking way of people. And he knows the city. He knows the lay of the land. He knows generally how people carry themselves here, right? He knows don't go down that way. I get beat up when I go down that way. Let's go this way, right? But he will never, ever say, if the player came to him and said, hey, Blinky, I can't figure out this problem. Can you solve it for me? Every time, the sidekick will say, I'm kind of stupid. I don't know what to fucking do. They're not going to say that literally, but that's the gist of it, is, hey, you're the hero, I'm the sidekick. I can help you with things if you say, Blinky, I came up with a good idea. You and me are going to go stealth over there. And then you're going to knock out that guy, and I'm going to knock out this guy. And then we'll move forward silently, right? Blinky can make rolls for that, and he might even be good, because he's pretty good at dexterity, right? So you can formulate that plan. But I'm not going to. And that's what I think a DMPC is. When you have a character who comes in and says, I'm Sir Robert. And then we're going to go defeat the goblins. Oh, okay, Sir Robert. And then you follow him, and then he attacks, and then he kills the goblins, and then you guys are like, wait, what if we ally with the chieftain, and then we take on the half-orcs, right? And then he goes, no, we're here to kill them. They're scallions. And then, you know what I'm saying? Now you have created a story. You are inside that story. You are solving that story, and you're also getting in the way, even if you don't realize it, you're getting in the way of them being able to make decisions. And sometimes they're going to beg that of you. They're going to say, what the fuck do we do, please? Not like that, but that's how you're going to feel. It's like, what the fuck? These guys don't even know how to play D&D. Just look in your bag and pick out a fucking rock and throw it at something. Just do something with something, right? You got spells. Instead of saying, fireball, it makes a big ass explosion. Say, wait, could I try to channel my fireball into the rock wall and just hurt the wall and not kill all of us? And then you say, make an Arcana check, and then they roll a 1 and they all take full damage. Or they roll a fucking 18 and you say, you're all scorched, you take 1d whatever, but the wall comes down. He angled it right. He put his force into the right area. And maybe that player goes, wow, that was really useful. I wonder if in the future I can keep doing that. And now now you can homebrew some combination earth-fire spell where or some kind of forceful fire spell where he's using like the blast to like demolish things. It's not for damage, it's for demolition, right? And now it's a niche spell that he's created that is fucking, he's the wizard and now he's doing shit, right? That's D&D. I got so sidetracked there, but a sidekick could help you do that, but they would never come up with that, right? And again, unless, okay, he's a rat man, and then now, hey guys, there is a swarm of rats ahead, and then you guys look at him and you say, wait, rats, can you go talk to them, dude? And he says, what, you think we all know each other? And then everyone laughs, and then he goes and he does it, right? If you have a ranger who's a sidekick, and you are going out into the forest, have him do something that makes him feel useful, right? Or her. I don't care. Make her feel useful. Now I'm imagining her, and she's got leather on, and everybody loves that. It's D&D. When you put boobs in D&D, they all love it. Everyone is bisexual nowadays. You can't help it, okay? They all love boobs. They're all in D&D. Everyone picks a tiefling because the purple lady is hot in the original player's handbook. That's why. Nobody picks the gnomes because she's got a fucking Neanderthal brow. If you made a hot gnome, everyone would be picking the gnome. You think people don't want to be, I'm a little guy and I'm gonna make all my friends feel awkward. They love that shit. As long as it's all for good fun, they love that shit. I'm gonna eat it up. The moral of the story is that your sidekicks need to be useful in only certain areas, and they should show that off. But there is the rare occasion when, especially when that character has deep story cachet. They've been in the story long enough and you've watched them. You know, they've picked up one of your allies on 0 HP and dragged him away while the rest of you fought off the guy. They've already done, like, they've become part of the story. They've proven themselves as, like, whoa. It's not just somebody I brought in and now is solving all the shit. If Blinky was, you know, gets through multiple levels with them without dying, and then he's maybe even learned, you know, one of them found a cool magic sword, and instead of using it for themselves, they said, hey, Blinky, this happened in my game, where one of them was like, I'm a wizard, or I'm a warlock, and I have Eldritch Blast. I don't need this crossbow. Blinky, do you have any weapons? And he just goes, and shows his claws, right? And they're like, here, can you shoot a Blinky, do you think you can shoot a crossbow? And he immediately is like, yeah, I love crossbows. I'm the best at this, right? He's very childlike. And that's part of why they like him, because he's just a little guy, right? And it's also obvious that you should not leave him with a crossbow. Like, he's gonna hurt himself or somebody else, but sometimes that's what you want. Let him off the leash. Let Blinky off the leash. And that's what I'm saying, is very occasionally you do want to let him off the leash, and you want to say, okay, my players have been making so many bad rolls, I'm gonna let Blinky get in here, and Blinky's gonna, you know, they've been trying for so long, and now I'm gonna say, alright, Blinky's gonna show off the cool thing that I've been wanting Blinky to show off for, you know, a long time. You have to be sparing with this. And he's gonna go, and he's gonna spider climb up the wall, and he's gonna go into the trap, and he's gonna make some checks, because he also, if there's a chance that he could get hurt during this, it's not gonna feel as much like, or even die. That's what I'm saying. He's in the gears. If these gears start churning, he might die, right? Like, or be severely maimed, right? If he does pass with a just close, he might be severely maimed, right? That kind of stuff can make it feel more like he's in the world and not just like he's shown up and is solving everything. But if they're groaning about this puzzle, maybe it's time to let Blinky give it a chance, right? That's why the sidekick is there. He's there to sponge up some HP. He's there to add to the, you know, especially for a low, you know, if I have one player, if I want them to have a big boss battle where there's lots of little minions, I can't really do that. I can have one big boss monster that's hard to fight, but if I have a ton of little minions, they're just going to get ganked up on, and they're just going to get shanked 10 million times, right? But if they've got a sidekick who can also, yes, and at that point I'm playing dice against myself, but it's more about tactically, what do you do with this sidekick? Do they go and what abilities do they have? Do they have Hunter's Mark? Can they Hunter Mark the boss and then go for the little guys? Or are they going to take out all the little guys so that you guys have more action economy? You know, that's when it starts to get more tactical than just, I hit the thing, you hit the thing. I hit the thing, you hit the thing. And I think that's the important part of the sidekick. And I've talked for a very long time about this. I don't even think the story, my original story, matters. I think this is a better lesson on the sidekick versus the DMPC. And how to differentiate the two. You really need even if you want to have that swanky paladin DMPC feel, maybe you do have somebody like that, right? Here's how you'd make it. All right, chapter 2. Here's how you make the DMPC work, right? Make them a villain. Straight up, make them a villain. Make them super hateable. But you have to do it. You have to do that in character. You have to separate in character from out of character. So you have to be like, no, this guy. You have to talk literally out of character and be like, yeah. When they're like, fuck this guy, you need to be like, I know, right? Like he's horrible. He's icky, isn't he? You guys have to be on the same side of hating the character that you're playing, right? And yeah, when I say make him a villain, I don't necessarily imagine he's going to backstab and kill somebody, but maybe he's trying to get the same item that your guys are getting, and that's why he kept stepping in, and because that is going to frustrate your players. They're going to be like, what the fuck? And you need to be really careful about being like, yeah, isn't that guy... You have to be very... If they don't like it, you might want to step off, right? Like, you don't want to make your players have a bad time, but you can annoy them a little bit, and their annoyance can be enjoyable. Right? I've done it. I tried pointy hats. They're called chest weasels. Oh my god. I've done it to every player. I've done it to every player. I've done it to players separately on their own, and I've done it to a group of players. And it was fantastic. Both times. Oh my god. Annoying your players can be fun. Look, watch that video. Pointy hat, chest weasel. Perfect. It's a perfect encounter. Every time. And because you could just keep having fun with it, and eventually they kind of realize there's something magical going on, and it's trying to fuck with me, and now I want to win. But how you would use a DMPC is, yeah, I think you would have to get him on the bad side, because he's going to be a hateable person, right? And again, if you want, from harkening earlier in the video, if you do want to have that character be, I'm the swanky paladin who's kind of an asshole, you can do that. You can have that personality and speak that through roleplay without engaging in the dice as well. You can do it the other way, where he is there, but he's not solving all the problems. But he's being like, back in my day, we would solve this in half the time, right? You can have him be there and be like, fuck this guy. And that will, I think, annoy them less than if he's actually taking... You don't want him to solve so much shit that he's taking away from their actual chance to dice, right? Like, they want to have fun. They want to roleplay. They want to come up with creative ideas around problems. They want to do that stuff. It's a game. They would like to engage in it. So you don't want to take that away from them. So it's probably, in general, better to steer away from that unless you really want to be super hateable. You can just have that guy be that guy without going and solving all the shit. And maybe you could have him try to step in one or two circumstances and roll and do a fake roll. Have him fail on purpose, because he's not allowed to solve everything, right? And maybe once or twice he does step in. And that's what I'm saying is, maybe you want a character in there who starts out as like an asshole, but then becomes like more of a sidekick, right? And they start to like him. That's going to happen through empathy. And it's also going to happen through, again, groveling. Like, the more pathetic this person becomes, many people have seen Critical Role. Look at Tyrion Darrington go watch the episode where he gets introduced. They hate him. He's a swanky asshole kid who thinks he's better than everybody, doesn't even know anybody's name, doesn't care to ask their name, and is willing to solve every problem with money. They hate him to the point they take him out in the woods and beat him up for fun. At that point, he starts... This is not really spoilers. If you don't want to see go watch if you like Critical Role, go watch it, motherfucker. It's in season 1, and it's good. Watch it. That's your chance. Okay? Now, they beat him up, and at that point, he starts crying. And literally the second he starts crying, they all go, everybody's at the table, their whole body language changes. You can see it, watch it in the video. They go, oh, you poor boy. Liam says, oh, you poor boy. They start going, oh, no, come, like, they immediately take him into their arms and say, listen, we're sorry we beat you up. We had to make sure you weren't going to die, because he is much lower level than they are. We had to make sure you're not going to die right away, just, from a beholder looking at you. And they take him with open arms from that moment, and it becomes about, like, how do we teach this guy to be, like, normal? Do that with your character, where he starts off and they're like, fuck this guy, and then he breaks down, and also, the part, it's not just that he's like, I'm a piece of shit. He breaks down, and he's like, I don't have any money. It's all I had. I don't know what to do anymore. He's being so real with them. He breaks, all the facades are dropped. He's being honest and truthful with them. And that is why it works, is because dramatically, it's a big moment where it's like, okay, yes, he's also releasing a lot of emotions, but that's not really the important part so much as having, my example is, if you're this swanky paladin who's like, I'm better than everybody because I took the oath of truth, and I say everything that's true, so you look fucking fat in that, Becky, right? Like, if you're playing that guy who's using the light of goodness to burn others, right? Like, he's using the idea, he's going with the letter of the law, not the intent of the law, right? At some point, that facade has to break, and he has to be like, yeah, my life is not fulfilling, and I'm scared. And I'm scared. And you don't have to play it up like I would, because I like when my players laugh, and I like to Also, sometimes I don't intend to give characters voices that they take on over time. But I think that's how you would use that if you want. That it can be very dramatically satisfying. It is to have that character, and then at that point onwards, that character can start a growth journey where they still should exhibit previous signs of like things that they did before, but characters can have a chance. They're actually willing to change. If a character said like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" They're gonna be like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. Why am I doing that?" That's the moral of this story. Is DMPCs, I would really steer clear of them in total. But you can have characters that feel that same kind of way without taking away players' fun. And maybe you have a huge group of players, and maybe your games go on for long enough that you can. And if I was gonna have a player that is gonna try to purposefully annoy them and take away some of their chances to do things to build tension between those characters, I would limit myself. I would maybe no more than 3 or 5 would be crazy, right? If 3 times in a game, someone said, I would like to lockpick, and then your character literally steps in and says, actually, Sir Robert would like to show you how it's done, right? And then he does it, everyone's gonna go, fuck that guy. If it happens 3 times in a row, I would not doubt that average D&D players would have that happen, and then they would, at the table, out loud, in front of you, say, let's just beat this guy up and leave him in the dungeon. And they might just do it. Like, that's the thing about D&D players, is they're playing a game as well. And it's like playing, you have to be sportsmanlike. It's like any other game where, hey, I'm playing dodgeball, and this guy is whipping these rubber balls at my head as hard as he fucking can. Let's all show him, let's now conspire against that guy. Just because you're the DM doesn't mean that they're not going to do that, and you have to understand that. And they're not doing it out of malice. It's like I'm playing a video game, and now one of the guys is like, no, I'm not doing this fucking raid, dude. Fuck this. No, it's like you're not having fun anymore. You have to keep having fun, right? And every situation should be, oh, I fucked up. How do I make it more spectacular? Oh shit, something sad just happened. How do I make it more sad? I want to make somebody like, I want to make them tear up about this. I don't want to be like just churning the knife in their neck. But if I can really make this think dramatic. Because dramatic can be super funny. Dramatic can be funny after sad, funny before sad. Dramatic can be, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about like the theater. Like, I'm talking about like, holy shit, this, I'm going on my last tangent, and then I have to end this video. It's going on too long. I'm about to park. My first D&D game that I did with my parents, right? They didn't really get D&D. They didn't understand role-playing fully, even. I'm just showing it to them. My dad is a sorcerer, dragonborn, who gets his magic from his blood, and his whole family are full of magic people. But he's kind of an outcast, because he married my mother, who is a human woman, who is a kind of a peasant. And she kind of doesn't remember some of her past, right? Because she didn't really want to make a whole past. And so I was like, I'll just fill it in for you. They'll never watch this. She's got a secret. It's so good. I don't know if I'll even tell it. The whole moral of the story is, what I had prepared for them was that they had already done their first quest once, right? Which was just the most straightforward thing. Someone asks you, I will give you money if you go retrieve this thing for me. The item that they don't know is actually a monster in a box that they're taking, right? And the goblins have got this box, right? Oh no, I'm sorry. They retrieve it from a place, and then along the way, the goblins steal it from them. And there was a whole encounter where they didn't have to steal it. It could have just been that encounter. Once it's stolen, now you got to go through a dungeon. The dungeon is the Delian Tomb. Look up. I'm sure you people have heard of him already. Matthew Colville running the game. It might be literally the first episode. The Delian Tomb. It's a tomb of paladins that has been taken over by goblins, right? Very easy, very simple. It's like a 3 to 5 room dungeon. It's all you need for one session. Perfect, right? they did that with a little bit of coaxing just to show them how D&D works, right? Like, it was very hand-holdy. But that's okay. Well, that was not a problem. It was just, that's how knew I had to run it. Then I'm leaving. It becomes a little bit more open-ended to them, where I'm like, okay, they can do. And this is early on in my DMing career. I should have known that I was needed to hold their hand some more. So I put in that there is this a person in the early morning comes to them and says, "Please, my daughter. You're the only people who know magic in the town. Help my daughter." And they say, "What?" And I say, in character, I'm like, "My daughter is sick with some sort of illness, and you two are the only people who know magic within this town. There's not that many. You're in a hamlet. There's not that many people here. Please come help my daughter." And they say, "What are you talking about?" And I say, "Just come, I'll show you." And then they begrudgingly go down, like, not begrudgingly, but they're like, "What is this even about?" Right? They go down there, and it becomes, I didn't even know this was going to happen. It becomes a horror story at that point, where I'm playing the grudge girl. She's got blackness in her veins. She's like, "Oh, I'm hungry, I'm sick." That just kind of happened on the spot. You improv stuff, right? And they were like, "What the fuck? Let's get out of here." They were getting spooked, like, for real at the table. I was playing scary music, right? They're like, "What is happening?" She's like, "I need meat. I need raw meat." They own a tavern. Their characters are married because my parents are married, and they own a tavern together because my parents would totally own a tavern, right? And my mom is the cook, and she bosses my dad around, and he's like, "I'm not waiting no damn tables," and then he goes and waits tables, right? It's wonderful. They're like, "What is going on?" They're like, the dad is getting more and more desperate. He's like, "Please help her." And they're like, "What the fuck can I do?" They're literally looking at me like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Look at your sheets. Look, you have spells." And my dad's like, "I don't know. Maybe I use magic hand. What does that do?" And I'm like, "No, you don't get it." And then that's when I look at my mom, and I planted something in her backstory earlier that day. And I told her, I made up this part of her backstory where there's this character called Francis, which also, by the way, you can tie, especially for somebody who is a little older or newer to role-playing, you can tie it to real-world things. Frank was the name of her father. Francis is, the extension of Frank. That was, you know what I'm saying. There was this character in her past that had saved her from poverty, essentially, and shown her his ways. And then he left suddenly, but he left her a note. He just disappeared. He saved her. She was like, "This is my father figure. I never knew my parents. Now there's this guy who's my father figure." And then he leaves right away after she's saved. He leaves a note that says, "I saved you, so now you've got to pay it forward. You've got to save somebody else." And I said that. I said all of what I just said to you almost verbatim, right? Without the story set up. And I said, "You remember that?" And she says, "Yeah, what about it?" And I said, "What did he say to you at the end of the note?" And she went, "Pay it forward." And I went, "Yes, you owe Francis. You have to pay it forward." And then she looks at me, and literally her face lights up, and like her heart sinks a little bit, and she goes, "Oh my God." And she looks at my dad, and she says, "We've got to help this little girl." And then he goes, "We've got to help?" And he says, "Yeah, I've got to pay it forward. We have to help." And then at that point, once they had come to that emotional, dramatic realization, my dad has this, he's got this whole backstory where they're tied to a dragon that created their bloodline. And he has the stone now of their family crest, right? Like, his ancestor that started their dragon bloodline held this stone before. And so, he's not a wild magic sorcerer, but they don't know that. I don't care. I make him roll for the wild magic spell. He's got extra spells, because I want to just give him stuff, right? I know it's a lot for him to handle, but it doesn't matter, because he doesn't need to know that it's even on his spell list. I can say to him, "Hey, Dad, didn't you know that you have a spell in your spell list?" And he goes, "Oh, really?" And I go, "Yeah. It's called grasping. It's called earth and grasp." And he's like earthbending? Like an avatar? "Just like that, Dad. Just like that." And he goes, "Yeah, I want to use that one." And it doesn't matter that I put it in there. His spell list, I change it actively where spells leave. And they, like, it doesn't matter to them. They're just having a fun experience. And his magic is, he doesn't know how to use it. He's a sorcerer. It's exactly perfect, right? So he grasps it, and I make him roll on the list. And almost every time, something great happens. And it's a light. He rolled like a 60-something or a 30-something. It's a light that filled the room. And I just add on to that, you do some healing. right? And I described it the light fills the room, it's till it's blinding. It's like the sun's in the room, and you all feel this warmth go over you, right? And then as it dies down, you look at the little girl, and she has been healed, not cured. She still has blackness in her veins, but seemed like she was on the verge of some sort of either mental break or medical emergency, right? But just so you still have to go on another adventure, which led to the next thing where they found a priest and he helped them do a thing, and then they took the curse out, and that curse, the priest threw the curse. He physically had to take it out of her veins, and then he just threw it on the ground. And then that became another adventure where they have to fight this curse that's part of the earth now. It's an earthen curse. And it's like he had a graveyard, so it's like an earth elemental it's spawning skeletons out of its body that are graves, and it moves through the graves, and it picks pieces of graves up and attacks you with them, and it's like a I called it a necromental. It's a necromantic elemental. And that's the end of this, because I have to stop, because I already reached my destination. I think that's all. I just had fun venting about D&D, honestly. I don't get to get it out very often. So, thanks for listening. I want questions. Nobody's commented yet. I want questions on these videos. Ask me stuff about anything. Anything and everything. I need topics.